Blog Talk Radio.
Hi everyone, this is Nathalie. Thank you for joining me today on Vitiligo Friends. This is very exciting for me, my first show. Today I thought we would talk about different UVB laser treatments. It's been a source of conversation on the website, vitiligocovered.com this week, and actually for the past month, a lot of chatter about that. So I thought we'd get into that, the different treatments available, and then discuss different aspects, the health plans and medications that are involved with it. I'll start off with talking about my experience with it. About 5 years ago, I did a self-experiment with tanning in the sun. And I started it in the summer in July, and every day I would sit outside for about 15 to 30 minutes, and after about a couple of weeks, I started noticing some freckling, and then a lot of freckling, and it really was inspiring to me that the potential to repigment was still there. When I looked at my white skin, I was always so afraid that that was just it, and to see color coming back just meant that there was something that was triggering the ability for my skin to pigment, to turn off, and I'm assuming that it was the sun, or the UVB rays from the sun, that was triggering it to turn back on. I don't know all the mechanics of how that works. You know, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, I didn't study in the educational arena for this kind of thing, but with all the research that I've done online, and I'm sure you guys have done just as much too, I see little things that are coming together that show me that the sun really has a lot to do with the potential to repigment our skin. Well, after a couple of months of doing this, I was so pleased with the results, and I posted the pictures online. There's some on the website that you can go take a look at. And unfortunately, we don't have many summer months here, so I had to wait until the next year to try it again. You will say, well, why didn't you just go to a tanning booth? Okay, I did try that. And that's another method that we can talk about, too, going to a tanning booth. I did a lot of research into that, and I found that the best one to go to was a tanning bed that only did UVA rays, because those went deeper into the skin to tan. And so I found one, and I bought a week pass, and I went every day, and I did it for like 20 minutes, 10 minutes the first day. Of course, you know, you could go up in increments, and at the end it was 30 minutes. The downfall for that treatment was that my regular skin, normal skin, tanned also. And I tan really well with the sun. So the drastic difference between the vitiligo area and my normal skin was just too much. I didn't want to continue doing that because I didn't like the look. Call it vain if you want to, but I just was not going to have that. So I didn't give it long enough to see if it would work. Since I know that the sun, sitting in the sun, did give me some great results, I know that had I continued with the tanning bed, that would have given me great results too. And if that's an option that you would want to take, I'd say try it. Just be aware that there's going to be a time that a period where it's just not going to look as good. You might even get worse before it looks better. And by that I mean the difference between your vitiligo and your regular skin might seem more drastic for a while before the freckling starts to come together, and you see it piece together, and the patchwork closes up, and then your skin's all the same color. Again, this is something that you'd have to do continuously, and that's the danger of sitting in the sun all the time or going to a tanning booth, because it's very bad for your skin. And sadly, with vitiligo, if we don't continue the process, it does fade. There's just something about the UVB rays that triggers the pigmentation, but without it, it fades back. And that leads me to my UVB Excimer laser treatments. About 2 years after that, so in 2007, I believe it was, December 2007, I've written I reprinted, actually, a press release from Excimer that they have a new product that you can get at the dermatologist, and you go in and you're told all about the laser. And so I reprinted the press release, and they saw that on my website and contacted me and asked if I would agree to doing the treatments. They would pay for it, and I would write about my results on the website. And I agreed to doing this. I thought, since I knew that the process could work, and it certainly did work on me with the sun, I was willing to try it as long as I could write my real results. In other words, I wasn't going to just say that it worked if it didn't work. I was going to print what really did happen in my process, and they were happy to do that. So I did it. They made arrangements with a local dermatologist, and I went in, and it was my first time since my initial diagnosis back in 2000, I don't know, a long time ago, since my first diagnosis of vitiligo. So when I went in, they were all very nice. It was Dr. Ring's office in Chesterfield, Missouri, and they made the process very delightful. Dr. Ring was extremely patient with my many, many questions, since I do a lot of research online and in the libraries, talking with other people. I'd come up with a lot of information that I wanted verified, and he took the time to do that. And that's key in finding a good dermatologist. Not only that, but this is what struck me as just gold, was when I said, well, what kind of cures do you have or treatments for vitiligo? What's causing this? And he said, I wish I had an answer for you, but the truth is nobody knows what causes it yet. And I knew that that's what the answer was, but so many times doctors will not reveal that they don't have all the answers. And that seems less personable when someone, because then they become defensive, that they don't know the answer, so then they're going to make that come off as something's wrong with you and it's your problem, and then that just makes the patient feel bad about themselves. But that didn't happen in this case. He was wonderful. It was a great experience. And look for that in your doctor, too. The first thing that they did when I went into the office to prepare for this treatment was they measured my vitiligo, and they determined the percentage of my body that was vitiligoed. I guess that's the word I'm going to coin here. And it was a high number, and to me, it seemed pretty high. I want to say, like they said, 30% or 40%, and really, I don't think I have that much vitiligo. I mean, it's just on my hands, a little bit on my chin, a little on my forehead, some on my cheek, my two knees, some on my feet, and my elbows. And that's it. So I don't know how that was that makes up such a high percentage of my body, but whatever, they tell you the percentage of your vitiligo. And then they took pictures, and he drew diagrams so that they have all this, I want to, not proof, but just a baseline of where we started so we can see then the results and how it changes at what point, and they graph that out for you. And so the next time I went in was my first treatment. And they have a large machine, this Excimer Xtrac. And it's a pretty large machine that's on the floor, and you sit down in your chair, and then whatever area is going to be treated, is exposed. They don't put any topical ointment or lotions or cleaners or anything on before. They just got this wand out, and it was about an inch in diameter. And this is what distinguishes it, along with the intensity of the rays, what distinguishes it from using a tanning bed is that because it's round and fairly small, they target only the vitiligo areas. So along the edges of my skin where it was white and then there's coloring, they had this little like plastic piece that they laid on the skin, and then that would guard the edges, and then they would put this down on my skin. Now the first 6 months I went, the nurse that did it would put it on my skin, and then you press down on this pedal and it like does a shot. Not a shot in your skin, but a pulse. I'm going to say it does a pulse of light. And the pulse of light is a percent of what you're supposed to get. And so it's a dose. Each spot is a dose, so you get the high dose on each one. But for the first 6 months, the lady was doing kind of a sweeping motion. So instead of that 1 inch diameter area getting that particular dose, she would slide it across, so like a 3 inch area got that dose. So until the doctor saw that that's what she was doing and corrected it immediately, 6 months later, sadly, I was not getting the full dose each time. So it's kind of like that first 6 months was almost for naught. And once we started again, with the proper doses, then I started seeing results. I was only going twice a week, and for about a year we did that. Now, mind you, I've got a life outside of doing this, going to my treatment. So I also had, sometimes I would miss an appointment. I'd have to reschedule, so I would only get one treatment in that week, or I'd get some weeks none if it was a Christmas week or I was on holiday or something. But for the most part, a full year. And I got good pigmentation, but it was light freckling and nothing that I go, oh, yeah, this is great. Everybody should be doing this. It was just, yeah, I could see it's going to work, but, man, it's been a year. And so I started thinking about my treatment when I just laid in the sun, and I asked the doctor, hey, I used to do this every day, lying in the sun for 15 minutes. Do you think maybe if we upped it to 3 times a week, it might make a difference? So, of course, they had to clear it with Excimer to make sure for the cost, and they approved it. And I'll be darned if it wasn't the magic number, 3 times a week. It made a difference how often I went. And I started to see a lot of repigmentation, like my elbows were almost completely filled in, my knees almost completely filled in, basically filled in on my knees. My hands and my face, there was progress, but it was never enough where I was really satisfied with that. And those were naturally the two most important to me, my hands and my face. My knees I could care less about. My elbows, whatever, I don't see those. But the two most important ones weren't really doing it. And after about 18 months, Dr. Ring decided that it was that we needed a break from the treatments because, there's a risk of skin cancer, and he did not want to come too close to that line. And so we stopped treatment. Most of what was freckling and faded on my face, on my hands, but my knees have stayed, almost completely repigmented. My elbows, pretty much, I'm happy with it. It doesn't make me self-conscious. Again, you don't really see your elbows that much, so I'm not constantly looking at it, but I'm not self-conscious about it because I know that, it's pretty much filled in. And so that was, good. I can recommend that. The downfall for those laser treatments is that it does not last. So you're going to have to continue doing it, and how long can our skin do that? I don't know how safe that is in the long term. I do know that other people, I'm not quite sure why we didn't do this, but other people say that they use Protopic in conjunction with using the laser treatments or using personal sun tanning beds and lamps, and that has worked great for them. That might have made a difference in my treatment, but I don't know. I still think that it might have come on quicker. Perhaps the freckling might have occurred quicker, but I'm sure that in the end, the longevity would have been the same. Only because I know that I talked to a lot of people who have had repigmentation from tanning, either with UVB or tanning booths, and there's two fades. So I guess the trick is going to be finding out what triggers that so we can keep it turned on. Another thing I want to let you know, too, is that when I would do it, my skin would turn pink. I think that there's been a lot of questions on that when people have been doing their treatments, and even if they're self-treating with a lamp, they want to know, my skin's turning pink, is that bad? And frankly, that's a great thing. That was the first step when I was sun tanning and when I was doing the UVB treatments. The skin turns pink before it starts freckling. And during my treatments, they would always give me some biotin, which was a cream ointment that I would apply to all the places that she had done the treatment. Just a preventative measure for burning, severe burning. Because there were a time or two that another nurse had done, a substitute person was in there, and she put it up too high, and I did get some minor burns, and it's not painful, but it's not pleasant, especially when it's on your face. You already don't like having white patches, but then to have bright pink patches on your face is it's even harder to cover up, so that wasn't pleasant. One other thing, let's see, about the treatment was the health plan coverages. A lot of people ask about the health plans. With mine, as I said, it was taken care of by the company. But I know they did have some other patients that were in there, and most of them had insurance that covered it. And their deductible was, like $30, $50. But if you did not have a deductible, the insurance, it was $300 a treatment. So, that's a lot of money. it's a lot of money for something that's not guaranteed to last, you know. And it's $300 a treatment, and if you have to go for, let's just say you do the bare minimum, 2, which isn't going to do it. So we're going to say 3 because you'd have to go 3 just to see some good results. That's, you know, $900 a week. That's just crazy money. Again, because it's not guaranteed. You know, I'd happily pay that for a month if I knew that after that month my skin was going to be normal again. But that's just not the case at this point. So, you know, it's a difficult thing to see something work, but not all the way. You know, you have a little glimmer of hope, and then, you know, it's gone. But you just keep looking for the next thing, don't you? All right. One of the comments that I had gotten just yesterday, actually, was from one of the readers, Cartman, and he left a really great question. He asked, what does it mean that UVB treatments only work on non-segmental vitiligo? And this is something that when you go into your dermatologist's office, if you decide to do the UVB treatments, or even if you're just going in to get diagnosed or to look at a treatment for vitiligo, find out what kind of vitiligo you have. Non-segmental vitiligo is easier to treat, from what I gather in the research and the answers actually that I got from some scientists from the Clinuvel Corporation. And they wrote a nice little letter. Since I couldn't answer Cartman's question about why UVB doesn't work on segmental vitiligo, I emailed my contact over at Clinuvel, and he, just a few hours later, sent an answer that his scientists had written up, a nice explanation, and that's going to be posted tomorrow with the title, Why Doesn't UVB Work on All Vitiligo Types? So if you're interested in reading a little bit more about that, you can go there and read the answers as to why. Oh, I think I need to take a drink, carrots. I've been talking nonstop. The next thing I'm going to do is something I'm very excited about, and that's answering your emails. I have so many emails each day, and I love getting them. I try to answer you guys as quickly as I can if I have the answer, or if it's a personal question about being unhappy or some suggestions of things that you can do to try to live a little bit happier with vitiligo. Then I can just, write something quickly. But if it's something that needs a little bit of scientific or medical background answers, it's going to take a little bit longer. But either way, it'll get answered. And if you write me, I can also get your questions here on the show, so you can just listen and get your answer here. The first one I'm going to do today is from a young girl named Tammy. And she wrote, I have a quick question. I started the NVB, UVB, light, and piperine treatment 3 weeks ago, and after a week or so, I noticed a few dark black spots starting to grow on the white patches. Also, on the edges of the patches. Can someone please tell me if this is something normal, as the dark patches have started to grow just on the white patches, and I'm slightly worried if this is something normal. Many thanks for everyone's help, Tammy. That is perfectly normal. That's exactly what I was just talking about. There are stages. The first stage would be that there's a light pink, and then you'll start to see very light freckling, and then you'll start to see that getting darker. And the cool thing is that it doesn't just happen all at once where, like, all of your skin is going to be pigmented. It is just like a patchwork. It's like freckles, and then they kind of grow together, and then you've got these new little islands of color, and then those will eventually hook up with these other islands of color that are nearby. So it's quite a long process, but if you take pictures of it, it might be an interesting work of art someday to see all these things growing and moving closer together as your skin fills in. My next question is by Stephen. I know from experience that UVB is a great treatment and have read a lot about protopic success, especially on people's facial vitiligo. Have you tried either treatment? They're both expensive, but depending on where you live, may be covered by your health plan. Again, I did not have success on my face or my hands. I'm not quite sure why those are the two most difficult to repigment, but I know that I read a lot of people that say that they have that issue as well. That those are the hardest places to pigment. When I asked the doctor, they said that it was because there's less fatty tissue in that area, but that's not true. I mean, my face has, some fat on it. Not fat, but, a little bit. There's some fatty tissue in there. And my knees totally pigmented in, and there's no fat on my knees. My elbows got repigmented, and there's no fat on my elbows. So I can't buy that explanation, so I just don't know why that one is. Yes, they are. All treatments are so expensive. Protopic, I never tried that really. I don't know how much the medication costs. I'm sure it's not inexpensive, but probably a lot better choice if you could only pick one to try than the expensive laser treatments. Wonder someone might be able to try doing protopic and then a tanning bed, as long as they're extremely careful with the time that they under which they stay in that booth, because it is the protopic, I know, makes your skin very sensitive to UVB lights, rays, and so you're going to be highly sensitive at that time, and you could do some severe damage, if you're not careful. So, and you don't want to damage your skin on top of everything else. We don't need to be burned. Well, that is all I have for today. Thank you guys so much for listening to my story about the eczema. I hope that I've answered some questions that you may have had about the process. And if you have any questions pertaining to anything that I just wrote about, please feel free to either write me on the website, vitiligocover.com, or write me here. I'd like to thank Matt James for my theme song. It's just wonderful that he let me use that. And our sponsor, Vitiligo Cover Lotion, at shop.vitiligocover.com. Thanks so much, everyone, and I can't wait to talk to you again. Next time we're going to talk about yoga therapy for vitiligo. Thanks so very much.